Hello, everybody. I see Brother Magasi here typing to us in the chat. So I'm just letting him know to click the link above and I will add him to the stage. Brother Magasi, please click the link in the chat. It's start at the top and I will add you to the stage. Very pleased to see you today. My brother, can you see the link? It's starred. There you are. I see you. Hello, my brother, Brother Magasi. Hello.
Hey, how are you doing, Sister Fire? Good to be with you.
Good to
Thank
see
you so much. I'm so glad we were able to make this happen.
As am I, and I'm so glad to see you in the flesh. Well, on the screen in the flesh.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So I will start off. We were supposed to start at 2:22, but that's okay. We're early. So what I'll do is I'll start off with an introduction. And one thing I must tell you though. So my audience that was here last week, they do know what happened because I read when I was reading your test while I was on live.
Sure. No problem.
So I said, oh my goodness, and then I said, oh well, that happened. So okay, we'll start.
No problem. No
And
problem.
how are you doing today, brother? How are you?
All good. All good. Yeah.
Good.
Everything's okay. We had the service. We tried that as well as can be, but everything is good. Yeah.
Good. Good is good. Good is good.
Yeah. We
Well, Fire
absolutely
Nation.
appreciate that.
No worries. Fire Nation, today we are honored to be joined by a man whose presence carries both wisdom and transformation, the Honourable Reabetswe Katleho Mogase. He's not only a respected leader in the fields of communication, equity, and community development, but also a spiritual teacher whose mission is to guide us back to wholeness. His work bridges the ancient and the modern. It's really a bridge. His work really is a bridge. And I advise you all to go and check him out after. He draws from African spiritual tradition, ancestral wisdom, and lived experience to help us navigate the complexities of life, leadership, and relationships in today's world. Through platforms that he co-hosted and was a guest on, She Thrives, he has inspired many with the call to self-leadership. So you see what we have in common here. He also inspires people with the call for inner healing and the restoration of balance between the masculine and the feminine. At the heart of his vision is the belief that we cannot heal as individuals without healing as communities, and that men and women alike must confront the wounds of patriarchy, learn new ways of relating, and step into their true spiritual power. Please welcome in honor a voice for healing, a bridge builder for our people, and a guide towards higher consciousness, Brother Mogase. Good afternoon.
Thank you so much. Good evening, at least from South Africa.
Yes.
But very good afternoon to you and your viewers and your listeners across the different platforms that you are streaming this on. Such a pleasure to be with you, Sister Fire. Appreciate it.
Yes. And Brother Mogase, so usually we get a lot more views on the playback. That's just how my platform works. So, but what I will do is I will give you all edits and we can work that out afterwards. Everything you have. Okay? Right.
That's fine. Perfect.
So let's start. Well, first of all, what time is it there now in South Africa?
It is 8:25 in the evening. So it's a good time to have this chat. A good time.
Yeah. Okay. Can you share with us your journey into spirituality, Brother Mogase? How you found your path and what drew you towards breaking new ground as a spiritual leader in your community?
So, also let me first start by saying I appreciate the opportunity and thank you that we finally have made this happen.
Yes.
Yeah, I think this is the divine timing for it.
Yes.
So my journey started what we'd call primary school here in South Africa.
In Jamaica too.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so so the age of about 12, 13. That's
Okay.
when I really started having some dreams that pointed to a bigger calling on
Yeah.
my life. Of course, at the time, far too young to understand what any of those things meant. Was definitely in the church settings for a while, different kinds of churches. I have been ordained as a pastor, and there were questions that I had around how our African spirituality sort of fits in terms of all of that and the decolonial thinking and the processes and all of that. And so I think maybe towards you were late 2017, 18, thereabout, these questions started getting louder. And since then, I think I've really been on the path that says we want to understand what kind of spirituality is here to affirm us as African people, is here to build us
Yeah.
as African people, and what does that look like? And so I've really followed those principles. I have called them principlines, if you will, or principle disciplines
Disciplines. Yeah.
that will really help us. I am looking for things that are going to work without my sort of faith in it or not. You know, it should be like medicine. Whether we believe in the medicine or not, it should work.
Good work.
You know, so there are certain principles that are in sort of our systems, and those are the principles that I live by. You know, speaking to our elders or ancestors, if you will, getting wisdom in that respect, understanding the interrelationship between the different elements, whether it's earth, water, air, fire, and how those link up with our daily lived realities, advising families from those perspectives. And I think for me, I am called to bring wisdom that is ancient back into the fold, and to cause us to question what exists. And mine is not to say that I'm correct. I'm
Right.
rather just, you know, to quote John the Baptist, a voice crying out in the desert.
You're right.
And those who want to listen can listen, and those who don't, it's okay. Yeah.
We are so similar in so many different ways, Brother Magasi, because I grew up in the church too,
Mm,
actually. My grandfather, very, very biblical. My grandmother
mm,
as well. Um,
mm,
grew up in their churches, never missed a service, was an alpha girl, and
mm,
even went to Anglican. I was Christian first of all, I was Christian in a Catholic church since I was born. But
mm,
after that, my grandfather was Brethren. My grandmother was Pentecostal, so I used to go between the two churches because I didn't go to
mm.
church together. And then after that, I went to Anglican church and then Anglican school. So, but the search was always deeper. The search for
Yeah.
me, like tying it together, and because of the fact that I was type of a bookworm, right? Reading all these different spiritualities, I started to tie things together. And just like you, Brother Magasi, why I say we're similar, is because I am a dissector of principles as well.
Mhm.
So what I do and what I love to do when I read something, I like to apply that principle to nature, think more like
Yeah.
from a bird's eye view, and also apply it across different experiences that I've had or
Mhm.
experiences that I have witnessed
Yeah.
and see if the principle holds up, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very, 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 very interesting, the similarities. And also the search for meaning or the search for why do we believe what we believe and what is actually true, what can actually help us to go up the ladder then,
Yeah.
basically, right? The spiritual enlightenment, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so with that, how do you define African spirituality and how do you see it as a distinct or a complementary to global spiritual systems or religious traditions?
So I think that it's a multiplicity of things, and I'm very careful not to box what we call African spirituality into one thing,
Right.
because it's very, very diverse. There are
Yes.
some people who think that the term itself is something that should not exist because,
Yes.
it's a confluence of so many things.
Yes.
But maybe if we speak about indigenous spiritual systems,
Yes.
those are things that have existed pre-colonization by
Yes.
their very definition.
Yes.
And they're also open to, if you will, change, evolution, modernization, if you will, but positive modernization. And I think I define those systems as those ways of being that allowed for human beings to be at peace with themselves, to be
Yes.
at peace with their environment, to be at peace with their creator or creators. And so those things, those three spaces of peace, or three spaces of existence, are quite critical.
Yes.
Existence within yourself, within your bloodline, within the multiplicity of who you are, existence within your environment, because it also has agency. So indigenous systems across the world believe that, the mountains are alive. They're not just lumps of rock. The rivers are alive. The air is alive. The birds can be messengers. So
Everything's
there's
alive.
that sort of element of being at one with nature. And then, of course, there's the element of being at one with the deities that are around us. And so, if you will, that triune existence is central across different indigenous belief systems. And I think that those ways of being have been adopted by other more younger, and I say younger on purpose, worldviews or belief systems, because to compare something that's 2,000 years old, for instance, with something that has existed for tens of thousands of years feels a little bit degrading to the older.
I
Uh,
understand that. I understand that.
you know
Yeah,
so
I do
it's
understand
I
that.
think it's important that we place it in the context that whether you're speaking Islam, Judaism, Hinduism, Christianity, whatever the case might be, all of these are newer forms of expression around spirituality, and what has been called animism, paganism, sort of very rudimentary, in inverted commas, ways of being and belief are way older than those systems.
And you know what else too, Brother Magasi, it's funny? Okay, so my grandmother on my father's mother,
Mm,
um, she was a Buddhist as well, Chinese.
mm,
And a lot of the breath work that she taught me just, throughout childhood, when I got older and I started to delve into other, other religions, other cultures, it's the same. And you wonder how these things are universal.
yeah,
Yogis do it. I still do it now with yoga.
yeah,
Um, all the other, so there are certain things that are fundamentally true, right? Even color vibration. Like some people now, Wicca, they call it color magic. But people try
mm,
to make things seem more inaccessible than they really are, right? But when you study even the Sufis, right? And when it comes on to their breath work as well as their color, the way how they interpret color vibration, etc., right? And color baths. It's the same principles, but it's just a matter of people not having the exposure to different things why they think that they can claim it as their own. You see what I mean?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's true. I mean, I think I'm wondering whether to share it or not. But
Yes.
someone very, very close to me
Yeah.
is someone who sees people in colors.
Yes.
So she'll meet a person, and there'll be a particular color that
Yeah.
seems to vibrate from the person's aura.
Aura.
But I
Yeah.
don't think that that's a unique experience. You are mentioning these color vibrations, you're mentioning all of this stuff, and I think that there were maybe a lot more people who existed in our systems of being, that would ascribe certain value to certain colors that they saw people as. And
Yes.
so if people presented with these colors, our elders maybe knew that, oh, you were intimate with a person. Oh, you did this.
You
Oh,
did
you are pregnant. Oh, you are this.
exactly.
Oh, and
Exactly.
so we tend to ascribe these. I mean, in our cultural systems, there are older women who at week 1 or 2 can be able to tell that you're pregnant just by looking at you.
I'm like
You
that.
don't know. Yeah. You
And
don't
I
know
don't know
how
how.
they do it.
I don't know how.
Yeah. There's no, and I think perhaps they might not necessarily tell us, but there are things that they see around the person. There may be a color that the person exhibits. There may be something, an aura that the person brings through.
Yeah.
But because we've become so detached from those things, we're no longer able, because, you know, a person's truest nature comes through, I think, through their auras and their colors, and those things, they can't lie. They can't be manipulated.
They
And
can't
so people are able to judge that even while I'm having a conversation with you. I mean, imagine, excuse me, if you and I were royal advisors to a chief, you know, 5, 6, 7, 8,000 years ago, and this chief is speaking to someone, and we are able to pick up, ooh, this color doesn't look good. Then we're able to, you know, drag the king aside and say, stop the deal immediately. This person is lying.
Exactly.
And we would have that background information, but we've lost so much in trying to be so civilized, quote unquote, and so modernized that we're missing all of that. You know, there may be people that come with opportunities. There may be people that come with so many beautiful things, but we're sometimes unable to realize all of that because we're detached from the spiritual.
Exactly. Brother Mogase, since I was a little girl, I was able to do that for some reason. And it's just a knowing. It's nothing, it's no sign, it's no color. It's just a knowing. It's just something that you just know. I can tell when someone is pregnant, and I usually can tell what sex the baby is. Usually I can tell what sex the baby is if the stomach is showing. The stomach is showing, I can kind of feel the vibe. I don't know what it is. It's just the vibration of the whole being, not the belly, not the baby, but the whole person. And that has happened so many times in my life. And it's just little things that you can pick up. Sorry.
Yeah.
Let me turn my foot. But not only that, brother. And that's why I say colonization really did a number on us. Because a lot of the things that are natural to us, we were taught to be afraid of.
Yes.
So what better way to keep people from their true power than to let them curse it themselves, or to let them be afraid of it themselves? So, and that is what I learned too, even from growing up in the church. Because I never, listen, the Bible has a lot of wisdom. I quote the Bible all the time because a lot of the principles do hold true. Yeah. But I do know where it came from. I do know the patriarchal mindset behind it. I knew we were supposed to benefit. And I know it has been rinsed many times. So, but at the same time, there is truth to be found even in the dirt.
Yeah.
Right? But a lot of things that are innate to us, and a lot of things that a lot of gifts that I find even people have, they're afraid of because of the way how the colonizers or how Western civilization taught us that it was bad, it was evil, you should be afraid of it. And these are the things that keep us powerful, right? And keep us on the inside. And then not only that, on top of that, when you have the families ingrained in that, and then when you have society have your attention dart from thing to thing, your attention dart from thing to thing, people don't have stillness anymore, and they don't value the quiet anymore, and they don't value the deep anymore, right? And I find that the deep is where the real work begins, right? For you to have a real full life, even your own life. Not saying that you're going to live other people's life, but a real full life, the deep is where it begins. And what I found, Brother Mogase, is a lot of people, and though we love them, the tragedy for me is I can't choose your thoughts for you. So I have to accept where you are, who you are. And even though I can clearly see that you're living from an assumption, so you're not truly experiencing the world, or not truly experiencing me as a human being, as a person I am, right? But you're living from an assumption of what a woman should be, or what a woman of my age should be, or whatever assumptions were fed to you. right? And so they don't even have that relationship with themselves, because even their relationship with themselves is based off an assumption, if you know what I mean. Do you see what I
Yeah.
mean?
No, absolutely. I agree with you. And I think that, look, Sister Vi, I think we're afraid of the truth, man.
Yeah.
I think there's a fear in the truth, particularly because we've become very closely acquainted with some of these lies, and they sit very well with us. It's nice to lie to yourself and say, "Ah, I'm ordinary. There's nothing special about me." That's easy, But when you then begin to think about the fact that your gift could place you in front of a president who's going to ask you whether he should go to war or not, that's
Right.
pressure. That's
Right.
serious pressure. Where your gift could cost you your life because you're meant to tell somebody what you're doing is wrong.
Yeah.
And, the elders are going to punish you for it,
Yes.
regardless of whether you're going to have me assassinated tomorrow or not. But the truth is the truth. And today, we are not we're not in a search for, as it were, martyrs in a spiritual sense that are just going to give themselves up. But I think we are, perhaps the elders are searching for voices that will remain authentic, and will remain very well aware that as we traverse these different paths, we are still called to make humanity better.
Yes.
And
Yes.
even in making humanity better, sometimes we are the bitter medicine
Yeah.
that humanity needs,
Yeah.
as healers, as seers, as people who astral project, as witches, as whatever,
Yeah.
because we must also take out the negative from words,
Yeah.
whether we are spell casting people, crystal observing people, moon based people, solar people, whatever it is that we have been called to doing. I think it's important for us to create a community that can hold one another accountable, but
Yeah.
also a community that is actually powerful, not powerful by sort of word, or that we speak things and then stuff don't happen. I think, as practitioners of indigenous knowledge, to put it bluntly, we ought to be people that are revered, not because we're just causing it to rain or we've told you that it is going to rain, but because our systems are affecting your agriculture,
Yes. Yes.
because our ways of being are affecting your economy.
Yes.
And I think for me, it's I often say to people that, we shouldn't be afraid of traditional practitioners. So in South Africa, we have a multitude of programs where, indigenous spiritual healers are all over the place on TV, in reality shows, and all sorts of stuff. I don't think we should be afraid of those people. I don't think we should have any kind of fear around that. I think we should have reverence for the people that we don't know, the
Exactly.
people where the leaders of this country, both black and white, by the way, because
Exactly.
spirituality has absolutely no color, and who those people are that are actually controlling the country or controlling the world. The world's billionaires are going on retreats. Who are treating them? Who are
Right.
the people that are giving them these spiritual experiences?
Right.
There was a movement, I think, perhaps a few years ago, coming to now, around ayahuasca, and people wanted to try that and have these mind-altering moments, whether it was with mushrooms and so forth, and all of these things. But we've had those practices forever
Forever.
across different spaces. And I wonder whether our billionaires, our politicians, our business people understand that there are healthy interpretations for spirituality that are available and accessible.
Mm-hmm.
And they just need to reach out to the relevant people, whether it's a you or a me, to say, can I actually go on this journey? I've been dreaming about this thing. I've been thinking about this thing. And then we become actually potent. Right.
Yeah.
I don't have any fascination with starting a church.
Right.
Although a lot of people are saying, oh, but please, you should do that. It would be good. You're so charismatic. It's wonderful. I don't necessarily have that ambition. My ambition, though, is to be on the speed dial of leaders in the world, is to
Yes.
be able to say that people should be able to call and say, I'm having this sense that there are a few spirits here that need to be listened to. And I know that you'll be able to tap into that realm and give me the wisdom that I need. You know, there should be people who a president should say, should I really run for re-election?
You're right.
Is that part of what I need to do? And that people actually listen.
People actually listen. Exactly. Now, what to that question that you asked, you know, with business leaders, there are some, and I think it's a reflection, as usual, the micro to the macro. There are some business leaders who realize that they can't do it without the spiritual guidance, right? And there are some who, because the soil is not partial. If you plant nightshade, you will grow nightshade. If you plant roses, you will grow roses. So there are some business people who know that their practices of being not being whole to other people is what works for them, right? And they plant that nightshade because that's what they want to grow, but they're still seeing themselves as abundant. And that's why a lot of people ask and they say, well, Miss Julia, how is it that these terrible people, you know, who don't care about humanity, how are they so successful, right? You know, what is your answer with that, with God? And I like to have that discussion, and I always ask, first of all, how much time do you have? And I explain the soil, and the soil being impartial, and the fact that even though God is good, God isn't only good. God is everything. If God is omnipresent and God is the full scale, and the fact of the matter of this world is polarity. However, we aim to have the higher vibration and the higher experience, right? And the one more with the beauty and the enjoyment of God. Because even, and if you see it with the micro and the macro too, like, why are flowers bright and beautiful and smell nice? They have no reason to. It's for our enjoyment. It's for us to experience that, right? So the same is on the opposite scale as well. So the soil, being as impartial as it is, if they are using those same principles, because those principles hold true for good, they also hold true for the not good, right? Necessarily, you understand what I mean? So that will grow as well. So that is why they are prosperous, because they are still planting those seeds and watering those seeds, right? So that is why I always tell people to focus on what it is that you want and focus on your ideal, because what you focus on, that will grow, right? Because that is what you're planting. And they're doing it too, right?
I mean, if you were to think about it, the tree that grows thorns and the tree that grows fruit are both trees.
Exactly.
They don't necessarily have the tree doesn't have a moral code. The tree is just going to grow because the seed was planted, right?
Exactly.
And I think that, you know, to stretch the thought process that you're having a little further, if you would allow me.
Yes, please.
We live in worlds where we like to cast these binaries of good and evil, and
Yes.
you know, we should live in worlds of purpose.
Yes.
Particularly because, and I say this under advisement, maybe this is not one of the clips that I'll put up after this.
That's okay.
But if the purpose requires what you think is bad for me to do, I'm going to do it because the purpose requires it.
Yeah.
The end across humanity has always justified the means.
Yeah.
And we live in a space where, even at a spiritual level, even at a physical level, we've got to get to a place where we're actually understanding what is the end, what is our purpose. And if we understand the purpose, then we're able to work back from there and say, okay, where are our red lines?
Right.
These are the things we're not willing to do, and that's fine. And we're not willing to do them because they're bad. We're just saying it doesn't align with the way we are.
Yes.
But those people who are willing to do that, good on them, that's fine. If we're willing to use ritual, we're willing to use magic, we're willing to use crystals, whatever the case, to achieve our purpose. And then another religious view looks at that and says, oh, but that's demonic, that's evil. We do not fall into your moral code. Exactly. So we're not going to be sort of hard on ourselves based on what you see. We
Right.
are going to use what we need to use. And there's a question potentially that links to what you were saying, where people were saying to a lot of us as practitioners that, okay, but if you have all of this divine sort of power in indigenous systems, why could you not rile against coloniality? And I think one of the main reasons was because Africans in general across the diaspora have been groomed into systems of morality. We are
Yeah.
almost raised to have this sense of good and bad.
Yes.
And because our ancestors were trained on that, there were things that they were taught were intrinsically bad and
Yeah.
should not be done.
Yes.
Today, we're discovering no, there's no such thing. You
Right.
needed to be able to utilize all of the tools at your disposal, even if it meant eliminating the threat in a final manner so that it doesn't continue. Because we are so congenial, we are so
Right.
magnanimous. We want to give you pieces of land. No, we should have chased you away
Yes.
from the very
No,
beginning because we knew you were coming. We
it's true.
thought you would be better than what we saw, and you proved us right. And then
Right.
you dispossessed, and you displaced, and you raped, and you plundered, but we had the capacity when you landed to sink your ships. We
Yeah.
didn't,
We didn't.
because there's a sense of moral order
Yeah.
that I think is partially an indoctrination that causes us to live below our means. Because if you think about it, the capitalist in its extremity, or capitalism in general, does not care for morality, it cares for profitability.
That's right.
It the end justifies. So even if you're polluting the earth, even if you are warming the earth, even if you're using people, you're exploitative, the end for them justifies the means. And that single-minded pursuit of that capitalistic ideal is admired by so many people. But
Yeah.
when we get single-minded about our African ways of being, about what we're doing spiritually, suddenly we are demons,
Yeah.
suddenly we are witches, suddenly we are, why are you doing this? Why are you so dedicated to this? What are you getting from? And I think that our paradigm perhaps, needs to shift a little bit so that we can get to a place where the purpose is the main thing and
Yes.
we are willing to die for the purpose.
That is true. But balance, Brother
Yeah.
Magasi, with this. I'll balance with this. Because I always use the principles against the macro and the micro. Now, there are certain things, there are certain spiritual laws that say even I won't break, because I
Mm.
feel like it would be an abomination to the spiritual laws that protect me, right?
Yes. Yes.
So, right. So you're right with that morality, right? All right. For instance, but at the same time, I'm not holier than thou, and I'll tell you why. And maybe this is maybe this is a part that I won't make in a clip. But for instance, I will know my friend is lying to me about something, and
Mm.
I can see that where he is right now, it would not do him any good because his ego is so stubborn and so thick and so hard. It would not do any good to break that facade for him. It would not do any good to let him know that I know, even in a gentle way.
Mm.
However, a part of me feels like, well, I hold you to your karma. You will have your karma, right? And I know that because I've been nothing but good to you, the boomerang will come around very fast. But
Mm.
me knowing that in the back of my mind, how much am I saving him, right? How much is it glee for me knowing that, I know this, you yourself will have to face the reward of what it is that you're doing, right? Because I know it. I know that you're broadcasting lack, and I know that you're broadcasting the vibration of fear, and I know it's only going to hurt your reality. But me as Julia, BlueFire, smiles and doesn't let him know that I know. So when I reflect with myself at the end of the day, I wonder, how much good was that to the outside world? They will say, well, Julia, that was so graceful of you, that was so gracious of you, you didn't make him feel bad, you didn't call him out, you didn't And I know that is not someone who will be receptive to any form of, even in a gentle way, right? Because after you get to know your friends, how many of them they have to live certain things, right? But then me, in my own self-reflection, would say, but Julia, how much of a good was that? To the outside, it might seem like as if you are being gracious. It might seem that you avoided conflict. It might seem like, you were being so gracious to him. But in your mind, deep down, that vibration that he was broadcasting is only going to hurt him. And you were okay with that. You see what I mean?
But it's the wisdom. It is that internal. Look, man, we are people that live in that middle ground, right? We're constantly caught in that middle ground somewhere, where the extreme end is being blasé and the other extreme end is being vindictive to the core, right? So we're living in that middle place, and I think that when we are aware that we're living in that middle place, then I think we're able to move better, because for us, we've been forced into the one end, and we've been taught the one end is good and let's sit there and it's the best place to be. But I do think that the balance is the wisdom.
Right.
Because there are going to be times where you can't keep quiet.
Right.
The person is taking advantage and you need to call it out.
All the time.
But there are
Or
going to be other spaces. Yeah, but there are
Yeah.
going to be other spaces where I think it's going to be very clear that this really doesn't harm you. You can continue with life. And that's it.
You're right. Because you know what though, Brother Mogase? And it was in my 20s that I learned this. Because I've always been like empathetic, because I can feel people. Like I can feel their vibrate, I can feel it. But in my 20s, early 20s, I learned to be a dark empath. And I've realized that mermaids, and even the mythology of mermaids, they're always dark empath, meaning they know, but they know that empathy is not the correct response all the time, right? Sometimes the correct response is hard truth, as you say, right? There's sympathy, can comfort you, empathy, I understand you, but then there is the hard love, which is I still love you, but you need to go through this in order for you to be better, or in order for you to meet me at that level. You must go through this. Let's see. And that's why too, it's so funny with the fire, because even though, and it's so funny, and why that name always stuck, even from I was 6 years old, because as I grew, it meant different things. And I remember when I was in the 20s and people started to fall away from me, I realized that a lot of my truths were testing people, but there are some people that stayed, right? And that's fire. Fire is the tester of certain things, right? And so it's very, very, this journey is very, very interesting. It's very fulfilling, even looking back and looking forward, But let me ask you this, Brother Mogase. What are the foundational spiritual principles or truths you teach and live by, right? Especially those that you feel are often misunderstood or neglected.
One that is definitely very important to me, and I think is part of my foundational sort of teaching, is around the role of the family, and the power that is located within the family. So I have learned, as much as I used to teach this as a pastor before, the teaching has somewhat changed. So I'm no longer necessarily subscribing to headship, quote, of a man in the hierarchical sense,
Yes.
but leadership as function.
Yes.
So that is a foundational teaching. I don't necessarily, and I must not put necessarily because it's nice. I don't subscribe to the view potentially that men are providers and women are nurturers and all of that thing. I think that women are abundant and are natural multipliers. And I think that men are generally gardeners that are there to bring balance in the world of an abundant woman. So the two work together, because the gardener looks very odd on their own without the garden, and the garden without the gardener then just grows wild. And so, you know, we're not trying to tame women by any stretch of the imagination, but we are bringing balance. Because if you listen to scientists as well, there are certain animals that must be in proportion to others for the ecosystem to thrive.
That's right.
The man needs to understand the ecosystem of the woman that he's with in order for her to thrive.
That's right.
And that is something that is a divine gardener's prerogative. So I need to be able to, if we are in relationship, tell you this tree is growing too high. There are others underneath it that also need the sun. So we need to prune it, or we need to get rid of it. It served its purpose. But I'll only know that if I'm divinely attuned, right? So those are some of the principles. The other is also just around leadership of the home.
That's right.
We can lead. Leadership doesn't have a gender.
Exactly.
We can lead in different things. And also, if it is that you are the better leader over all of the family, then please lead the family.
That's right.
There's nothing bad about a woman leading the home. There's nothing bad about a man leading the home.
That's right.
I think it's important that we understand that some things are human. So nurturing is a human thing, not a male or female thing. Leadership is a human thing. It's not these are roles that are prescribed within the family purely because we need people to do them. But the leader of the home is as submitted to the purpose of the home as everybody else. So it's the family.
More. Yeah,
yes,
even more
in
so.
fact, it is the family that has the power. So the family has the power. And I think we need to also get into a space, I often think about taking back leadership or taking back the authority, because the family has the power to say, dear ma'am, dear sir, you have been failing us in terms of the way that you have been leading. There was a particular purpose, and we wanted you to fulfill a certain role, and you are not fulfilling that role. And so we don't want to displace you from the family, but we are removing this and this responsibility and giving it to somebody else because you are not doing the job in the way that we want you to do the job. Right. And I think that if we were to get to those places where families can have meetings that say, you are the financier of this family, and we have prayed for you to get billions. You have gotten the billions. But now you're not helping us achieve the things that we need to achieve as a family, and you're thinking that it's your money. You are now running away from the responsibility. You are the spiritual person in the family, or you are the relational, or the innovator, or the culturalist of the family. Play your part. Your part. Teachings around family are things that I really hold dear to. Teachings around manhood and womanhood are things that I really hold dear to. And I think the other thing is also around the spirituality that serves us. Right. And something that serves us must also challenge us. So it shouldn't be serving us just from the perspective of, oh, it's a nice to have, it's great and wonderful and makes me feel good. But it should serve us from the perspective of, are we actually gaining something as a family, as a community, as a clan, as a nation? And a lot of our spiritual systems don't do that for Black families. Exactly. And we need to recover systems that.
And you know what, Brother Mogase? I love this conversation. This is such a this is a delicious conversation. Okay, now let's zoom back in. Let's go deeper with me now. The head of the family, or the leader of the family, or the leader of the spirit of the family, or the leader of the finance of the family, you're always in servant leadership. You're there to serve. And it's the same thing with good businesses. And good CEOs know that we are here to serve. I'm not the boss. The client is the boss. We're here to serve them. My workers, they're the boss. I make sure that they eat first, because and they take care of me. Like, they've never left, right? Now, with what you said about And this is what a lot of men don't understand. And this is where I find that I won't say they have failed me, but whereas they have cut themselves short. Whereas they don't realize that, as you just said, something to serve you, nice to have, but it should also challenge you.
Yeah.
And a good woman or a good counterpart will always challenge you to be a better person, and not
Yeah.
challenge you in fight or
Mm.
animosity, but challenge you as in, look, you could actually be that. I see
Yeah.
that in you, and
Yeah.
you have those capabilities. And I see that, I saw that, I see that in you. But it will take consistent effort in you to dig deep to reach there.
Yeah.
So I find a lot of our brothers, especially Western brothers, they haven't spent enough time, and Western sisters too, but I can only talk about men because that's because
Mm.
I'm heterosexual, like fully
Mm.
straight, right? Um, Whereas they're so distracted, and they don't sit with themselves enough to where they can be emotionally safe for themselves. And when a man isn't emotionally safe for himself, he can never be emotionally safe for me. So I look at it as a micro and a macro, right? So with me, I will meet someone very intelligent, looks great on paper, nice spirit. But eventually, I see that the person can only meet me as deeply as he has met himself. So if he hasn't done the work, he will always seek to dysregulate me emotionally in some way. And
Mm.
sometimes, and I see it and I don't judge it and I understand it. And I know that patriarchy actually hurts men as well, right? And I will see it and I won't judge it and I understand that's where they are. But at the same time, spirit preservation and my self-preservation kicks in. And I can know that, okay, that is not the gardener for me, because of the fact that I know vibration is so important to everything that I'm building and everything that I am, and for me to shine and to give the love that I get from source to everybody else, because that's my purpose, right? That's my purpose. So once I see little tactics that probably would have worked on a lot of other women, once I see little tactics of them trying to dysregulate me in any way, I realize that, okay, this person probably doesn't even know. Some of them do know. Some of them do know. Like they'll pretend because, or they'll see you as competition secretly, and so they will try to dysregulate you or pull the rug from underneath your feet. And I see that from I see that clearly and I feel it clearly, but I say nothing. And a lot of times, because you say nothing, they think that it doesn't exist, but they don't realize that you see and you know, right? But then there are some of them who they don't know the destruction that they are. They don't know what they're doing, and they will never understand. Well, why did she just, stop talking to me, or did why is it that now I feel the energy shift? Like now she's surfaced. It's because at some level I realize that for the fullness of me, you're not safe because you're not safe for yourself. You see what I mean?
Mm.
So, and that is why too, like I always say, like, I'm happy that I'm very fortunate. I'm very grateful for the fact that I love my company so much. And I love being alone so much, because it's easy for me to walk away from what looks good and keep what feels good, you know? And that's one thing that I even told my sister last year. I said to her, I don't care how my life looks. I care how it feels. How it
Mm.
feels matters to me, right? So, and that's why now I'm at the place where unless I see that the person is actively working on themselves and actively not afraid to go deeper, that is the key for me. I don't care if he's not at the same level as I am, because I've been doing this for years. I've been working for years. I don't care if he's more advanced than me. I would love that. That's fine. But once the person isn't afraid to actually face their shadows and actually work on it, then that is the key for me. I don't care what they have. I don't care how good they look on paper. I don't care if I don't care. You see what I mean? So that is the thing that I'm realizing with Western guys, and not only that, but it's just the mindset has done, the colonization has done such it has done such a number on us, past the slavery, past the shackles. And that's why when Bob Marley said emancipate yourself from mental slavery, that is like one of the most revealing and deepen lines that you could ever have, because it really is emotional and mental slavery. So that it comes right back to what we were talking about before, that people just are living off of assumptions and not truly experiencing the other, and not truly experiencing themselves, right? So I'm in a state now, or have been for years, where I'm self-protective. Whereas if I see, you know, any sign of that saboteur, they try to sabotage or pull me down in any way, or
Mm.
try to emotionally dysregulate me when I take such good have such good um relationship with myself, check in twice a day, I see that as poison for me, and I definitely separate myself from it, no matter how much I love them, and it's a principle too. And I was thinking about it the other day. It's a principle too that what I learned in advertising, copywriting here for postgrad. There's a saying that one of the professors used to teach us, says, "Kill your darlings," and that means separate yourself from a project that you really love because the project is no longer working. But if the principle is true, as we said, we apply it across different
Yep.
states. And it is true. Sometimes you love people deeply, and you love them probably because you can see them deeper than they have seen themselves. And you still have to separate because of self-preservation, because you can see the damage that that person will bring. See what I mean?
Absolutely agree with you. I think also, look, there's so much to unpack in what you just
I
said.
know. I'm sorry,
But
Brother Magasi.
it's honestly, we've got to ask more from men.
Yeah,
The basic premise for me is you have more to give.
yeah,
You have more to give than what is in your pocket at a financial level.
right,
You have more to give than potentially the kinds of women that are around you. You're not living for the approval of women either. You're
right,
not living for the approval of money. You're living for the approval of purpose.
right,
And so you can afford to be at a space that asks questions that are uncomfortable, that are deep to yourself, like you're saying, in terms of that check-in. Because we like the surface level questions. Are you doing the work to avoid being an abuser? Tick. Are you doing the work to understand that you can go to therapy? Tick.
right,
Are you earning enough to be able to look after yourself and your tick?
right.
But then we should ask deeper questions that say, are you willing to be led?
Yeah,
And that should also be a tick.
right,
Um, if all your money were to disappear, does it mean your manhood disappears?
right,
If the woman that you're with doesn't necessarily validate or compliment you in a way that you want, does it mean that you are less of a person? If
right.
you when So these are deeper questions that we need to take up, because I think that coloniality told men that all you are good for is the woman that is on your arm and the
Exactly,
money that you bring.
exactly.
So our manhood, yes, we understand from sort of, if you will, better systems and indigenous systems, that the divine masculine is always in a dance with the divine feminine, as
Yes,
is the divine feminine with the divine. So we can't separate the two. That's
right,
good. But we also need to understand how they work alongside each other. So this sort of thing that you're speaking about, sabotage, of course I'm a sabotage if I haven't done the work on
yeah,
myself, because your being great causes me to feel uncomfortable, because you are reaching levels that are challenging where I am. And if I was taught from a very young age that I must lead because I have a penis, that's problematic.
it's
you're
problematic.
you're going to encounter friction, because there are going to be men that are going to say, what do you mean I need to be led by you? There are
Right,
some men who have imbibed patriarchy so much, they're not even willing to have women as bosses. They
Exactly.
leave certain jobs, they leave certain spaces. And I think we're missing out on so much.
So much.
You
So,
know,
and they don't know their history.
It's a bad system. It's a bad system. And I
Terrible.
think that I think as men, we know just how powerful women are.
Yeah.
I think we shouldn't lie to ourselves and say we don't know. I think that we know that women are able to do a lot of the things, if not all of the things we do, and do them better. We think we know villains. We think we know dictators. I just think we haven't given women a chance.
This is
I think, I think that women.
Oh my God! Let me finish what you were gonna say, because that just sparked a fire right now. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think if we give women a chance and they show us just how dark they can be, Adolf Hitler would look like a schoolboy.
Brother Magase,
You know.
listen. And I said to myself today, Julia, we only have 2 hours of brother's time because it's 8:30 where he is. So some things you're going to have to hold until his whole humble guest in South Africa. But the patriarchy also did a number on women too. Now, where I am right now is dealing with women that have that internalized misogyny. And that is the worst thing. And that's why too I have it here on the screen. Gotta don't do pick me.
Yeah.
Now it sounds harsh, but they're dangerous. And a lot of times it's that internal misogyny because of what they have been taught with the patriarchy, right? And a lot of these women don't know how powerful they are. And they really believe that their worth is tied into them being partnered. And I know these women, and some of them are, when you listen to them talk, you see what they write, you see how they produce, you look at their life on a whole. And I'm like, you are more powerful than you know, sister, right? You don't need the validation of men. Yes, it is nice to have people say how beautiful you are or say how smart you are, but not having that does not take anything away from who you are or your purpose or what you can give to this world, right? So when you said that, you said so many things. When you said that, a lot of them thinking that, okay, I should lead just because I have the appendage, that appendage, right? Being male. It is a very arrogant thing, and it's more than arrogant, it's poisonous, because there will be times that you will lead. And what I find with these men that think this way is they would be subservient to other men, but yet still they will cast out a woman and try to oppress that woman. And so I was thinking, Brother Magase, I like to put things, the micro against the macro. And just talking to them in just relaxed style, our brothers understand oppression very well from the white community. They understand oppression very well from slavery. Why is it that they can't understand oppression when it comes on to misogyny? It's the same thing. And then I think about that quote. I don't remember which African writer wrote it. Kwame Nkrumah. He says basically he's saying that if you're oppressed, you will become the oppressor, right? Kwame Nkrumah, he said like basically the natural way for the oppressed is to become the oppressor. So I'm wondering if, because of the fact that our brothers have been so oppressed by society, the white society that they have to live in, they have to prove in, their bosses, corporate, they feel like they're justified to play out that violence being done to them psychologically on women. So they have to have something to oppress as well. But what they don't realize is it's damaging our societies, damaging our communities, it's damaging our families, from where you get strength in order to face the system. And that is why I say the trick of colonialism is such a poison, right? And the other day, and we can talk forever, but the other day too, because I had like, like sometimes my sinks get clogged because I wash my hair, etc. And I poured the Drano down the pipe, and I had a bottle of Drano, and I had some hot water, and I had a glass, and I said to myself, "This is poison, the Drano. This is fresh water, the hot water. But if I have if I have the other glass and I put a little bit of Drano in it, it's still undrinkable because it's still poison."
Yeah.
So sometimes there is no midway. Sometimes that thing is either clean or it's poisonous.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's just a drop, it's still poison. You see what I mean? It might take more to unalive you, but it's still there. So when I think about that, and then I think about what we are dealing with as the Black society, Black community, especially in our Jamaican community too, because we have some of the richest minds, the brothers that we have. Brother Mogase, our Jamaican men, they're so resilient, they're so strong, they deal with a lot, but I don't think they really know themselves to know how powerful and how great they are and how great we women are. And the colonialism has done such a number on us that they don't need to hold us in shackles anymore. We destroy ourselves. So now we are doing the work for them. And this is nothing against. I have a lot of white friends. I have white people in my family. It's not a race. I'm not a racist. It's nothing like that. But I'm just talking about facts and about the trickle down of history, the real trickle down, right? They don't need to destroy our families and separate us anymore. They don't need to destroy our schools. They don't need to destroy our homes because we are doing it ourselves. And the patriarchy, the internalized misogyny, the assumption that because I'm a man, I'm better than you and you have no right to shine, you have no right to a voice, is damaging your own family. It's betraying your own daughters. And your family is where you're supposed to get strength from, and that they don't realize that. So anyway, I'm gonna let you talk, but sorry, I had to say that from what you just said, because I was thinking about it, and these things come to me just out of the blue. I was just unclogging my sink, you know? You know what
No,
I mean?
I definitely hear you. And I think that as men, we've got to challenge each other. And we've got to be able to have these conversations with each other. And yes, some of us must be willing to take the insults, where we'll be thought of as less of a man, you are a sissy or a wimp, whatever the case might be. But I want to live in a healthy society. I want to live in a healthy home. I want to be able to call out the women that I have been blessed with, and they must be able to call me out. And we must be able to live in that space where no one is afraid. We even must get to a place potentially where we can understand that it's okay to be wrong and to apologize. It's okay to move. And I think that when people have built their entire identity around a particular concept, and then you come and you challenge it, obviously there are going to be serious, reservations around that. And that's okay. But where I do have a problem is when I think we're shown that something is not right, something is not working. It is oppressing our sisters. It is oppressing the very same people that we get life from. And we need to change that. And then we still revert. Because, I mean, I was watching this clip where this guy had called a TV show, some community TV station, to come and discuss relationship problems. And this woman, obviously in a very disrespectful manner, comes through and says, you are unable to satisfy me sexually. And she's saying this in front of the camera.
Yeah.
Now, of course, it's quite hectic for any person to hear that, and that's fine. But the man's reaction was to want to get up from the chair and hit this person, this woman.
Yeah.
And he felt completely justified.
Yeah.
He kept on saying, this is my woman. I have the right to do this.
Yeah.
And I think we ought to maybe recognize, and a lot of I suppose feminists, womanists, and that sometimes this is where I diverge with them, because there are people who say, no, we shouldn't teach anybody. Everybody should just know that this is wrong, and so we shouldn't have the conversation. I believe we should have the conversation.
Definitely
I
need
believe
to.
we should sit down with men and say, okay, gents, when you want to hit your woman, when you want to abuse, when you want to oppress, why are you doing that?
Yeah.
And let's hear the rationale. And let's make the logical argument that says, you can't do that. Even if she cheats on you and you find her in your bed, walk away.
Walk
There
away.
is, there is nothing that she could do that could cause you to think it's okay, no matter how angry you are, no matter how what. And I think that we need to get to a place, again, like I say, if we've defined manhood by the kind of woman that you have, of course, that will be your reaction. But if
Yes.
your manhood sort of consists of other things that make you good, that make
Yeah.
you great, then of course you'll be able to walk away, because you'll say, but if this is the way that Sister Fire wants to treat me, that's fine. That's her loss. I'm going to move, you know. But
Yeah.
we shouldn't get to a place where my identity is defined externally, whether it's
Externally.
by
Right.
money or by other things. And I think that men are in that loop. And this
Yes.
is why the colonizer is still able to do what it is, because also
Yes.
women have defined themselves by their bodies.
Thank
So
you.
it's
Thank
not
you.
just, us that have this problem. We need to both let go of these things where literally we've been in relationship settings, because sometimes I have spiritual counseling with partners or families or whatever. And literally you can see that this woman is just bringing her body to
Yeah.
the table.
That's it. Yeah.
And we also have systems where in rural places, it is the woman's job, quote unquote, to cook, to clean, to do the laundry, to do all of that. And I asked the question, okay, so let's say we get a helper who cooks, who cleans, who does all of that. What is
What
the
is your
rest?
purpose then? Yeah.
Does it mean your
Exactly.
job is done? Like,
Exactly.
because then I
Exactly.
must just marry the helper, right? So I don't need
Exactly.
for anything else. And
Exactly.
and you see, women really also have this problem,
Yes.
where it's like I don't know what to do,
Right.
and
Internalized misogyny.
we must then call it out, and we must be able to say, there's so much more that I need from you. There's so
Right.
much more that you need from me.
Right.
Sometimes it may be that you are the one that is bringing a lot of money home. Why
Right.
should I feel intimidated by that?
Exactly. Exactly right. Or exactly right. No, there are certain things that's true that you might be more have a proclivity to.
Mm,
So I know how to change a tire. I don't really want to. I'll call AAA. But I do like to make a home. I do like to cook, etc. That's just because I like it and because it reminds me
yeah.
of my grandmother and it brings back memories. Do I necessarily want to do that every day? No, gladly, because I'm alone. I don't have to. But what you said is about those roles and and that's what it is again, Brother Magasi. It comes back to living from assumption instead of living authentically, right?
Mhm.
And that is why too you find, and that's what I had to tell a guy the other day, like, brother, you are seeing yourself so short.
Mm,
Like, you think that all you can offer is financial stability, and that's not
mm,
enough for me, right?
mm,
Because like sometimes you meet this and they will think that that's a good catch. I don't know, like they'll think like, oh, whoever I'm with, she won't have to work, she'll just stay home. And first of all, when I see that, that's a red flag for me, because I'm hearing that you basically want to control this person.
mm.
Secondly, what about her gifts that she wants to give to the world? What
Sister
about
Fire,
her?
I must come in there. We are not also teaching women that.
That's
We've
true.
we've we've completely
True.
removed.
True.
We've completely removed it, and we've taught. And I think the system has gone and said to women, please want a man that will come and take care of you so that you don't have to work. Work is not a burden. It is
Exactly.
a purpose
It's
endeavor.
a purpose, it's a fulfillment.
So even if this man has got 6, 10, 15 figures,
Yeah,
you will still be required to work from the place of purpose.
that's
And I
right.
think that we must get to that place. And I ask the question, what's wrong with your money? Is your money that bad? Does it have a problem? Why is it that you can't bring it to the relationship? And yes,
Right?
there are horror stories of when women went and brought their money to the fore and they supported men and so forth. And yes, the horror stories are there.
Yeah.
But let's also say that there are beautiful stories
Beautiful
of
stories.
spaces where women brought everything and that everything multiplied in the hands of the man
That's
because
right.
he was able to divinely say, oh, you know what, love, I think there are things that we need to invest in. There are things that we can do. I see you're working hard. Can I take one or two other burdens off of you? Can we do something different? And then the home grows and
Then
this woman is working supported. But
yes.
we've taught that somebody taught women, just bring your body and you'll
Right.
be fine. And
Right.
also don't want to work. I don't know. This thing of being a housewife
Yeah.
is very interesting for
Very
me.
interesting.
I don't know, and I'm not speaking against it. I think a
Right.
lot of people want that, and it's a good thing. But
Right.
when you look at the women in our societies, pre-coloniality, they
Yeah.
were the traders. They were the ones that were in the markets. They were
Yes.
the ones that were under. In fact, financial fitness, knowledge, inclusion, all of that was feminine
Feminine
first
first. That's right, Brother
before
Magazine. Before the
men
colonization.
came.
That's it. That's 100% right. And the funny enough, without saying too much, because this is the internet, that is the not dichotomy. What do you call it? What do you call that type of relationship? Dynamic. Sorry, I
Mm,
don't know. I lose that little small word. That's the dynamic between my mother and my father, because my mother
mm,
always made more than my father, but
mm.
my father was the multiplier. I knew exactly where and that's where I got a lot of my business sense from, was from my father, right? So you never know what you're teaching your children just by seeing it, but we've never seen it as his and hers, never, and they've
Mm,
never ever portrayed it that way. It was
mm.
always the family, right? And what is best for the family and the
That's the
unit.
power.
And what that is the power. That is the power. And I'll tell you this, Brother Magasi, my first engagement, why I walked away from it, was exactly that. Because the person was very well off, but he had plans for my life that
Mm,
that did not line up with spirit and what spirit had planned for
mm.
my life. So and I remember my father's words. He says to me, Julia, if you marry for money, you will earn every dime. And let
Yo.
me tell you, right? He told us girls that, because my sister, when we were growing up, my sister was very beautiful. She was the beautiful one, right? And she always get a lot of attention, etc. So my father used to talk to her about certain things, right? Certain,
Mm,
guys used to take interest in her. And so she's 4 years older than I am.
mm.
My father has been with my mother since my mother was 16. And my
Sure.
sister, my sister met her husband at high school. It's called Campion College, but it's called college, but in Jamaica it was still a high
Mm,
school. And they've been together ever since.
sure.
So it's real funny, those lessons. And let me tell you how I know my father was right was when I broke off that engagement. Escaping that man was the hard. It took years
Mm.
because he had the means to stalk and he had the means to do certain things, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
without going there, um, my father was right. So can you imagine? I remember he said to me, Julia, it's always easier to break off an engagement than it is to end a marriage. And this is
Yeah.
in my early 20s. So I'm listening to all
Yeah.
of this. My heart is saying one thing, my father's mind and the respect for my father and his
Yeah.
wisdom is saying another thing, and spirit is saying another thing. So I'm very fortunate in the fact that I've always honored spirit and followed spirit, because I have to be able to check in with myself and be okay and be
Yeah.
able to sleep.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? So that is something that I want our sisters to see. Like, you're not just free labor, or energy is our biggest resource, right?
Mm,
We don't have to do these things for the validation of men.
mm,
Men who think that way, they have also been tricked by the colonizers and the patriarchy, right?
mm.
We bring our own beauties and they have their own beauties. And Brother Magasi, sometimes some of the men that I meet, the brothers or Jamaican brothers too, and I'm seeing them and I'm like, this is such a beautiful person. He has so much wealth and depth inside of him. If only he could access it. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So that gives me the patience with our brothers, and that gives me the patience with my love for them, even though I can see where the problems are. But at the same time, I'm still between the seen and the unseen. So I still have to protect myself from whatever sabotage that they may unwillingly do, right?
It's a thing. I think also, the unfortunate sadness, and I say a sadness, is if we don't change, if we don't get better, if we don't get to a place where we sit in our divine masculinity, women are going to leave us behind.
Yeah.
And excuse me, while we need each other, the one gender that can function without the other is women.
Yeah.
We, on the other hand, cannot function for anything.
Yeah.
And I think that we think it's just liberal woke women.
Yeah. It's not.
It's the rural woman, it's the indigenous, it is the spiritual. Everybody is awakening to the fact that they were sold a lie.
Right.
Except men.
Right. Because the lie seems to serve them, not growing. That is what it is in a brother, right?
But
Because
it isn't.
even in friendship, you find this, and like I've been hurt severely. Whereas, you see somebody as a friend, you see somebody you see them, because I'm future tense, I see far. You see them when they're gray, and you want to be around them, and they're little kids, and right, and then to learn that they saw you as an object, whereas they didn't see you as a friend. They didn't see you as a friend. And so they have this assumption that a man can't be a friend to a woman unless they're just waiting it out to see if they can have a chance with her body. That hurts. That is a wound that cuts and turns the knife, because in your mind, you have to deal with that every day, surfacely, and you have to watch and make sure people are not following you, etc. You always have to consider your perimeter to see how safe you are. But when you're in a relationship and you call somebody friend or brother, and then you feel like as if they only saw you as a piece of meat, or they were just biding time to see if they could get a chance with your body, that is something that is traumatic. And a lot of our women go through that, but we keep quiet. And then the men sometimes would laugh at that and say, well, of course, men don't keep women friends. And then the brothers that know better will not even hold those brothers accountable. And they know better. And even if they don't have daughters, or they you know what I mean? They won't hold, right? And so that's the dysfunction there. Whereas when you have a friend who is a real, I don't want to say real woman, but woman who has done the work, or a woman in your life that has done the work, instead of you trying to see where you can be, even reach that place in yourself to be a better person, you're finding the excuses that keep you comfortable in not growing, because it benefits you, right? But it really doesn't benefit them in the long run, because it destroys the family, it destroys meaningful relationships in the long run. And Brother Magasi, before you continue, I had this conversation with a young man day before yesterday, early 20s, and he was like, mental health, I don't get mental health. I said, that's the problem. You don't grow thinking that you don't care about your own mental health. How do you know what I mean? And this is the problem. Like, brothers need to start to care about their actual health.
That's true.
Anyway, continue. You go ahead. I've been talking a lot.
I think, for me, the maybe let me say it this way. It's okay for us to start at the physical place.
Right.
Let's not, I think perhaps speaking for some guys and that, let's not eliminate it, right? So if you meet Sister Fire and you're like, okay, Sister Fire is fire, that's great, wonderful. Now, from there,
Right.
what happens from there.
What
So,
happens from there?
don't act oblivious to the fact that you are speaking to a beautiful woman. That's okay.
That's fine.
But also understand, and she too, should not act oblivious to the fact that, okay,
Of
but this
course.
is attractive, this is what but then from there, what do we do?
Exactly.
And that's the place where we're sort of getting it a bit hectic, and getting it wrong,
Right.
because there are some connections where, to use your term, spirit or source is using beauty to attract you to the
Right.
person,
Right.
not for any other bodily pleasure purpose, but there's something that you are meant to do in the life of that person, or that she's
Right.
meant to do in your life. But because beauty was used to attract, you think there's only one thing that could possibly come from
Possibly
this.
come. Thank you. Thank
And
you.
then you move in that way.
Right.
And there's a gentleman, I just forget the name now, but he said, make it a point that when you look at a woman, you focus on the right thing.
Yes, that's right. Exactly.
Um, and
Exactly.
I think that we, there's a lady that said to me, you need to focus on the things of tomorrow as well,
Thank
not
you.
just the body.
Not just the body, because that will
Um,
that will age and it will wrinkle, right?
yeah, and
And
also for some men, some bodies are dangerous. At a
right,
spiritual level, you are going to come across a body, you're going to like it, and then it's going to cause you pain,
right,
because you are not necessarily attuned spiritually to some things
spiritually
that you need to be attuned to, where beauty is also being used to lure you into a trap.
into it, right?
Um, and again, Sister Fire, I think we're so disconnected from spirituality as men in
Right.
general that we're not able to test that, okay, is this woman okay for me? Should I even call her a friend? Should I even
Exactly.
call her at all?
Right.
And because we don't have those systems and tools in place, we are also now vulnerable.
Yeah.
And we, Shem, a lot of people will speak about this sort of loneliness epidemic that men are going through at the
Yes.
moment,
Yes.
and all sorts of things like that. And I agree. I hear what is being said. But let's not also get to the point where, I speak to myself here as well, where we're willing to just go for anything
But it doesn't
and
matter
anybody.
anymore, though, Brother Magasi. Like with me, with friendship, yes, that's true. You can, because I've had many friends that I was attracted to, very
Mm,
beautiful, right? But there are certain boundaries that you don't cross, and their attractiveness become less important because of the beautiful soul that they are, and because I love the essence of the person. That essence of the person, even after they die, you still feel it. That's the love there, right? So that's why I say, like, on surface, if you just met me, fine. The beauty, that's fine. To be,
mm,
enamored with that, that's fine. But along the road of friendship, especially if I know you for 2 3 years and we'll go through different things, I expect it to be deeper, because I no longer see you as a body, right?
mm,
But then when you justify that with, oh, men are never friends with women unless they're trying to get a chance with them, and you're thinking, what kind of shallow life are you putting yourself to, right?
mm.
Because women, we have so much more to offer, and so much more
Yeah,
beauty beyond what you can see, that we can actually offer from our heart and from our spirit and from our truth and our tongues, right?
yeah.
So that is where it is, and it's not a matter of, say, beauty to lure. You see, that's the thing. I don't like when people have this negative connotation to beauty, where they're automatically suspicious of beauty because, whoa,
Mm,
you know what I mean? Are you that weak, or are you that not? Is your foundation that feeble that you can't trust yourself to know that, okay, yes, this is beauty, and yes, I'm in the presence of beauty, but it is as it is. Just like when you go to a beautiful garden, again, Brother Magasi, let's put it to nature. You go to a beautiful garden, you see all of the beautiful roses and the flowers. They're there for our enjoyment. You don't have to pick it. You can enjoy it without possessing it. But yet still,
mm.
even though there are all these different flowers, it's still unity because it's one soil. You see what I'm saying? One
Yeah.
one rose bush, many
Yeah.
roses, but one
Yeah.
rose bush. So that's why I say, like, we have to think deeper and start putting things against nature and really examining our own thoughts and our own life to see the depravity that was sold to us and that shortens our life and makes our life really, really surface when it can be so much deeper and so much richer. See what I mean?
And it's okay. It's okay for us to acknowledge. I think I like that, you said, is your foundation that feeble?
Yeah.
If as a gent, the foundation is, allow yourself to say, yes, it is. My foundation is
Nobody,
that
they're
feeble.
not going to say that, brother Magasi.
So in because then at least we were able to work with that honesty. We're able to move from there and say, yes, the foundation is feeble. When you see a woman, you want to pick the flower, and note that when you pick a flower, it's already dying, by the way.
Yes.
So it's important that we all understand that. And at the same time, there are going to be some flowers or a flower that you are interested in, and maybe you pick it and you replant it in your own garden and it grows.
Right.
But at the same time, there must be that discernment to say, okay, let me just leave it where it is.
Exactly.
Let me
Yes.
wait.
Let me
Let
just
me
say.
see. You know?
But that's what I thought. That's what the other day I was teaching my little nephew that, and I told my audience that too. When I was in Florida last year, and he was 5 years old, little Matthew, and we go for a walk. And he had the flower and he was picking flowers. And then Ariana was like, no, Matthew, you can't pick the flowers. This is not Jamaica. You can't pick the flowers. So I said, so, he was getting upset. I said, but Matthew, if you pick the flower, I said, first of all, do you love the flower? And he says, I love it. I love it because it's
Mm,
beautiful. And I said, Matthew, if you pick the flower, it's going to die. Do you want to
mm,
come back and see the flower tomorrow?
mm.
And he says, yes, I'll come back and see the flower tomorrow. I don't want it to die. Right. So
Exactly.
so from their kids, we have to start planting those seeds that not because you love something or not because you're attracted to something means you must possess it. And I'll
Yeah.
tell you this, brother Magasi, the next day, I didn't have to take him out his iPad. I never have to turn off the cartoon. He come with his shoes. Auntie, walk, walk. He
Yeah.
wanted to go back and see the flowers, right? So little things like that, those beautiful, rich moments, whereas an auntie can actually fulfill her heart of being a mother, even though she has no children. See what I mean?
Yes.
That
Yes.
too, right? And he will never forget that. So these are the
Absolutely.
things. These are the things. Yeah.
It is that. And also I realize that, as we continue with our conversation, we have othered women so much, um, as a society, that we can appreciate the feminine beauty in nature, and we can at least leave it alone there. We don't take lionesses and we take them away from nature. We want to put them in our garden and we say, come hunt here, you look good. But we observe them there and we leave them there.
Yeah.
But I think we've othered women so
Yeah.
much, and I realize that it's going to take some time for us to make up for that, because it's almost as if you're not human, and that's
Yeah.
a weird thing.
It's a weird.
It's something that I think we should really be ashamed of, frankly put,
I was thinking
particularly as.
about it. I was thinking about it, brother Magasi. Sorry, did I cut you?
No, no, sure.
Okay, but I was thinking about it. And I like to put the misogyny against the racism, right?
Yeah,
Now, a lot of the fear for Black men and a lot of the fear for Black people even becoming economically, advantage, having the advantage and stuff, from a lot of the fear from white people, if you listen to them, they fear of being eradicated. They fear that if Black people become in power, they would treat them as badly as we were treated, right?
yeah,
If you listen to a lot of the narrative, it's a lot of that fear. I don't know, but I present to you, Brother Magasi, and to the people who are here and in the playback, maybe that's one of the reasons why men are afraid, or some men are afraid of the patriarchy being gone with, or women actually stepping back into their power in their roles, because they actually feel that if the society was matriarchal, or if we were in power, we would suppress them like they suppress us, and we would never do that because that's not in our nature. You see what I mean? A lot of the
Yeah,
misandry that I see, and even listen to ladies who are misandrous, meaning
yeah,
audience, they have a animosity towards men,
yeah.
is a reactive thing. It's reactive to the misogyny. A lot of misandry, I believe, is reactive to years of misogyny, years of abuse, years of what they have seen people being in, even in their communities, where they say like ends ain't you know what, right?
Mm.
Right? So a lot of that is reactive. So a lot of the men, they will probably be afraid secretly or subconsciously of women taking their rightful places, because they feel like as if we would oppress them the way how they have oppressed us. And the reason why I came to that conclusion is because I'm looking at the oppressors as, say, white people. The fear, a lot of them, not all white people, I don't want to hear anything about that, but
Mm.
the people who have a problem with it, even Christian nationalists, they have a fear for black people, and a fear, like they burn down Black Wall Street, they burn down anything that where we were thriving and minding our own business, right? Because they feel like as if we got in power, we'll outnumber them and we will oppress them. We are not going to do the same thing that was done to us. And you know what I
We're
mean?
better than them.
Right. But I think that a lot of the men actually believe that. I don't know what you think about that.
It's very true. It's very, very true. And like I said, if we really, and I think we should, it sounds like a bad thing to say, I think we should unleash all the shackles. Because like I said earlier, you know, there are women out there that will make Adolf Hitler look like a school child.
That's true.
There are women who are ruthless in the way that they will deal with people
Yes.
and exterminate an entire. The biggest strategists across the world in certain spaces have been women. There
Yeah.
are wars that have been fought because men wanted to impress women. There are things that have happened simply because Sister Fire was drinking the drink and looking at a particular gent in a certain way. He then believed, I need to impress her. And while we, can make light of it, but there are women who have shaped the course of African history,
Yes.
that just by their strategies,
Yes.
sitting on the throne, doing what they do, refusing, being resistant to coloniality, and they have succeeded where other men have failed. And I
Yes.
think that we must recognize that there are women out there who have been scorched, who are going to mete out that kind of treatment on men, and we must be okay with it. I think we can't in good conscience go and say to women who have experienced abuse, women who have been violated in certain ways, and we must just say to them, forgive, forget, move on. That is not our place.
Right.
And so there are women who are actively now on the hunt. The misandry is very, very hectic.
Yeah.
There and even if you are a more healthy, a more healed man, and you are like myself, you are speaking the things that you do. I mean, I've received few comments on the videos that I've posted on TikTok where people are saying, we hope you live what you're saying, or you're
Yeah.
probably lying about this. You are just saying this for likes and the like. And, despite people coming to my defense or whatever, the people are ready to
Right.
see fraud, to see
Yeah.
yet another man that's going to disappoint us, yet another man that's going to stab us in the back. And I think we must be okay with that as men. That we are starting from the back foot and we need to prove ourselves. And if we're really in it for the cause, we will do what needs to be done
Right.
to prove ourselves.
Right.
But those that are not are going to fall by the wayside. And unfortunately, uh, yeah, man, like I think when you unleash the shackles, for instance, there's a lady in Zulu culture called Mkabai,
Yeah.
who was an advisor to King, what you'd know him as King Shaga, and was an advisor to him and the father as well. And if the patriarchy at that point in time, excuse me, was really completely removed, she wouldn't have had to be an advisor. She would have
Right.
just risen in and done exactly what she needed to do. But also, I think that there are some men who need to understand that there are other women who are okay with being in the background. They don't
That's
want
right.
to be in
They
the
don't want
forefront.
to be in the foreground, right? That's
They
right.
want to support, not because it's patriarchy, but because they've chosen that
They've
role.
chosen
And
that.
we need to give them their agency. We need to say it's okay. You don't have to be in a single mold where everyone does the same thing.
Right.
I think for me, it's quite critical for us to get to that place.
I 100% agree. And what I would love too for the woman's part is for us to have the eyes to see, for us to
Mm,
have the eyes to see ourselves, and then we can see the truth in others. And maybe I'm simplifying it, and maybe I'm simplifying my gift as well. But I can usually look and listen and see the eyes and actually see the intention behind the eyes to know if that is, if that person is nefarious or not, right?
mm,
All right, now
mm,
I'm going to respect your time. I know it's 9:30 where you are, 9:36. You have
mm.
half hour. We didn't get to all the questions, but that's okay. It's a great flow, great conversation. Let me ask you, what does what role does community ritual, ceremony, or collective practices play in the healing of our people?
They play a huge role. Um, it's an important thing to understand, that sort of those layers of power, if we'd call it, right? So we have agreed and established that the family is the center of power and all of us are participants. But as the families get together, they form the community, and then that community is the center of power. And that community is the center of spiritual power. That community is the center of communal, if you will, blessings that are there. And I think that when communities gather, no matter how small, whether it's 3, 4, 5 families that gather to form a community, when they agree, the power of that unity can be felt for generations to come, because they are able to unlock collective agreement. And in our societies, we have lost out on all of that due to various sort of systemic, if you will, oppression that has told us, be more individual,
Mm-hmm.
be more for yourself. But when we discover the power of that community, when we discover the power of that collective agreement, we then begin to realize why the colonial systems used Islam, used Christianity, used these major religions, because it's about collective agreement.
Yes.
When the collective agreement says we are less than,
Yes.
we will see heaven somewhere, we
Yes.
must suffer here on earth, all of those things,
All of those
where,
things. Yeah.
yeah, when all of those are collectively agreed upon, the
Yeah.
colonizer doesn't need to do much because they are collectively agreed upon.
Right.
It just flows.
Yeah.
But if we were to also have collective agreement that said our ritual is around excellence, our
Yes.
community practice is around asking the right questions and getting to the right answers, then
Right.
we'll be able to have conversations that, even though they may be uncomfortable, they're good for us. And
Yeah.
we collectively agree that we're going to do this, we're going to move in that way. And then the systems follow
And
naturally.
you know what, Brother Magasi, I try to implement that with a small thing, which might be a great thing, which is respect.
Mm,
So I make sure, well, I'm naturally respectable anyway, because that's just how I was raised. But especially when I went into business in my early 20s, I made it my priority that I would never disrespect or treat anybody of my community any less than I
yes.
treat someone of another community. And the reason why is because I have been treated bad by people that look like us, right?
Yeah.
But I see them talk to other people with the utmost grace and respect and patience. But when it
Mm,
comes to us, it's different. And so that is something, even when I was on my buddies' lives, there's Rick Storm and Imhotep, always when you talk to the men with respect, they actually feel it. And when you talk to the woman with respect, they actually feel it. Sometimes they don't know what to do with it, right? Because of what it is that, you know, what they've been conditioned to think. So they'll probably think that, oh, you're soft or you're this or you're that. But really, actually, you want it to be, I want it to be an accepted thing. Whereas when I speak with you, I can speak with you with utmost respect. Doesn't matter how educated you are, doesn't matter where you come from, doesn't matter what you earn, right? Me as a woman of your right is going to deal with you in respect. So those are things that we can do. We can start to heal in that way, but it has to be a collective acceptance, right? So I try to make those changes in those small ways, but we definitely have to do it in families. So let me ask you this before we go, because I know I don't want to, you know, with your time. If you were speaking to a Black man stuck in old patterns, control, emotional suppression, dominance, what spiritual message or invitation would you, Brother Mogase, give him?
I invite you to more. I invite you to more. I invite you to a place where the women around you are your co-collaborators for greatness. I invite you to a place where you can understand that their abundance is not a threat, it is a support to you. I invite you to understand that their goddess-like state is actually in protection of you. It is not to dim your light. I invite you to more. I invite you to understand your manhood as a space of protection of yourself and of others as well. I think I invite you to understand that all of us as men can worship, quote unquote, at the feminine altar and receive immediate results, because when the feminine is at her best, she is abundant, she is blessing, she is peace, she is nurturing, she is nourishing, she is goddess, she is life itself. And so why wouldn't you want to experience all of that? Why do you think, you know, you want to experience just 10% of it, or 5% of it, and you want to oppress the other 95? I would also invite them with a promise that said, if you treated her better, you will treat yourself better. And if you treated her better, she will treat you better. So I think for me, it would be an invitation to more, and that more is scary. Let's acknowledge it's a more that will cause discomfort in the initial stages, but the promise that is there is that when she is better, the community will be better.
That's right.
When
and
she is better, the family will be better.
Family will be better. And also, Brother Mogase, if they see themselves better, because you know, if you even some of my friends, or because I don't have many friends, but I have a handful, but I have good acquaintances, right? Different levels.
Yeah.
And I'm convinced a lot of times they don't see the warrior or the king in them that I can actually see inside of them. And so sometimes I wonder if, because they're not having that clear vision, maybe they don't realize that they do deserve more from us women. They do deserve the fullness of us as a woman. So they will satisfy with scraps because they're comfortable giving scraps, and they're comfortable giving breadcrumbs, because the colonialism and the oppressors have tricked them so much to let them think that they're less than. So that even when it comes on to, you know, being happy or being at peace, somehow they screw it up or they mess it up. And my grandfather used to call those people wilderness walkers, because remember, my grandfather was biblical, right? So he would say those people who would walk around 40 years around the promised land, but they don't have the mindset to actually enter it. And if you invite them into it, they will come in and they will destroy it in some way. Subconsciously, they will mess it up, because internally, subconsciously, behind, they don't really feel that they deserve it, because they've been sold this lie that they're less than. So we have to get the brothers to actually be able to look at themselves as more than just a paycheck, more than just manual labor. And maybe then it will open up their eyes to see us as more than just a body, and actually the anchor to your spirituality, right?
Yeah.
And to get the woman to actually see themselves too as more than just free labor, and more
Yeah.
than just your worth is when you are partnered. See what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Yeah.
it's all of that work, and I try to we can talk about it because we have that understanding. But where I am right now, Brother Mogase, is how do I distill that information to make it digestible to the people who are exposed to me? The best way I can do that is just through my actions and lead by example, which is
Yeah.
natural because of how I live. It's okay, it's not a burden. But at the same time, you don't want to be seen as a standard that is unreachable, because they
Yeah.
all can reach it if they go deeper. See what I mean?
Yeah.
Right?
Totally agree with you. I think that, it's it it it, it shouldn't sound too high. It shouldn't sound too hectic. Um, but the truth is, it is high. It is a high
Yeah,
standard.
it is.
It is a high order. And I think that we also would need to get to a place where, to be called a man should be a privilege. To be called a woman should be a privilege. You ought to have proven certain things. You
That's
ought to
right.
have shown certain things in your character, in your, sort of braiding the different strands of the world and how you do it.
I
It
love that.
should come through. And then we can call you a man, or then we can call you a woman. And those words should not be as cheap
Cheap praise.
as what we've made them. I think there's power in someone being called a woman,
Yes.
or being called divinely feminine. Those things get thrown around a lot
So
today.
much. Yeah.
It's a serious title. It's not a small thing.
Exactly.
And I
King too.
think that,
King and queen. If
yeah,
I call
it,
someone king, it's because I see that light, the kingship
yes,
in the thing in them, right?
yeah.
And you know
So
what
we
you
should,
just said about go through certain trials to be called certain things. That ties back into a lot of the African traditions too,
yes,
where they had certain battles to fight in order to,
yes.
right? So,
So
brother,
it,
I
it
know
is going back there.
it
Yeah.
is going back there. So I know it's that time. I could keep you forever, but I know you have to go. But can you tell us, because for our men that can find you, or a woman that can find you, I like to put it in the chat. One of my brothers, Imatep, has asked if you know Credo Muata.
Yeah, yeah. Ndade Credo Mutwa was
Yeah,
a great seer,
yeah,
a great traditionalist, a spirit beyond his time,
beyond
really.
his time. Yeah,
And this is somebody that I think not I think I know, we
no,
respect a lot.
yeah,
Didn't perhaps receive the kind of respect that he would have wanted at the time. But he stands in high rank for a lot of people
yes,
in the system of spirituality,
yes,
so he's very much a respected elder. He's
very much.
since gone to join the elders himself. He's alive in spirit but not in body.
Everybody.
So definitely somebody worth reading the books that he has written, Indaba My Children,
Yes,
and others. So definitely somebody worth knowing, worth listening to. A lot of power in the mythology
yes,
that is there. But where
yes,
people want to find me,
yes.
on TikTok at Reabetswe Katleho Mogase, I think you'll write that down properly.
Can you write it in the chat, brother? Can you write it in the chat, or can you
I
see the chat?
can I can
Can you
try.
see the
So
chat?
I'm on the StreamYard thing, so I'll go back to the YouTube
Okay, no,
and
no, no,
write it
don't do it
in.
then. I'll write it. I'll
Okay.
write it. You know what? When this airs, I'll put it in the chat so people can see it. Right?
Yeah.
Um,
Um, so you
yeah, go
have
ahead.
you have it there.
Yeah. But uh, I want to ask you one last question. In many communities, men are taught that power over is strength.
Yeah.
How do you help men unlearn that posture spiritually and relationally?
I think again, we get to the space of understanding that the big thing we're working towards has the power.
Yeah.
So again, I'll use the family example. The family has the power. So we both the man, the woman are submitted to the family.
Yeah.
And so the family eldership, its purpose, whatever, that has the power over us. And so we need to call each other out and understand that if we are given responsibilities to carry out, we are not being told that we are better than. Excuse me, we're simply just those that carry the responsibility at that moment. We're not being asked to lord over anything.
Right.
We are being asked to serve everybody.
That's right.
And I think that we've called it leadership from behind, to give it a fancy name, where you are leading and everyone around you is shining, and then only you will shine.
Right.
But I think that that's the best version of leadership that exists.
Servant leadership.
Particularly where it is that you are able to wake up and serve everybody else.
Right.
Because, and Shem, it might sound bad for me to say this, but let's also look at the reward of that. Is if you wake up to serve everybody else, when everybody else wakes up, they'll serve you.
100%. 100%.
So you are actually, in some ways securing your own future by serving everybody else.
That is true.
So that's how I think we would go about it, is to say, okay, we understand you may have a self-interest here. You may want to see yourself shine. If you want to see yourself shine, make others shine first.
Make others shine. And that is the truth. So help me God. Even in business, that is the truth. That is the truth. Right? I remember when we had an event, one of my techs, which was like 4 years ago. She's gone, she's left since, gone back to England. But she said that one of the things that she loved was me making sure that they had seats to sit down at trade shows, because I see the other people at the trade shows, they have to be standing behind the desk the whole time for 8 hours. And I'm thinking, no, I don't want my techs to be standing. It's not going to help them. They don't need to, they need to sit, but I'm trusting them that when somebody comes to the front, to the table, they will stand and talk to them. And they do, right? But they appreciate the chair, that small gesture. They appreciate the chair so much, because I was actively thinking about them and their energy and about what made them comfortable. So like little things like that makes people so loyal to you, when really and truly you're not doing it for that, but you're doing it with thinking that I want you to be comfortable and to be at your best self while you're helping us build the company, right? So, Brother Mogase, may I bless your name before you go?
Thank you so much. Please go ahead.
Brother Mogase, I bless your name with love, abundance, and gratitude. Your name is your power, and through it, the universe acts in your favor.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Ashe, thank you. We appreciate you.
And let me close with you right now, Fire Nation. What we received tonight was not just an interview. It was a transmission of wisdom, a call to healing, and a reminder of who we truly are. Brother Mogase has reminded us that spirituality is not separate from our everyday lives. It is in how we love, it is in how we lead, and how we build community with one another. He has shown us that patriarchy and imbalance have wounded both men and women, but the path forward is not in blame, it is in healing. It is in men finding the courage to release old patterns, and in women finding the strength to rise with grace, so that together we can create partnership built on mutual respect, divine balance, and shared power. As we close, let us carry these teachings into our homes, into our relationships, and our communities. Healing is not a one-time event. It is a lifelong practice. And if each of us takes just one tiny step forward towards balance, one step towards wholeness, we will transform not only ourselves, but generations to come. Let us thank our brother Mogase for lighting the path and let us commit to walking it with courage, compassion, and with truth. Bless you, brother Mogase, and thank you.
Thank you so much. Bless you too. Cheers then.
Bless you. Cheers. Bye. Great discussion. Thanks, guys. Blessings, blessings, blessings. Yeah, greatly appreciated you guys checking in. It was a great conversation. I had to share him with you guys. I definitely had to share him with you because he is the real deal, right? And I've been blessed to actually meet him and know him and be able to have these these are the type of conversations that I love. Deep, good thinking conversations that make you go away and actually think about what it is that we're doing in our own lives. So bless you guys. Thank you for being here. And we're back to our books next week. Oh, next week we have a fireside chat. We're going to we talk about reframing failure next week, right? Yeah, so we're going to talk about that with a fireside chat. So next week it won't be at 2:22, it will be at 6:30 p.m. where I can have because I light my fire in the evenings. So I'm going to share my fire with you guys. We're going to have a nice discussion so we can reframe failure and we can talk. Respect Imatep. Respect everybody. Rajan Barton, you're not going live tonight. Oh, yeah, that have nothing to do with my chat, but that's okay. All right. Blessings.
Told you this before. You are not me, so you can't do what I do. You're not me. I told you this before. I told you this before. You are not me, so you can't do what I do. You're not me. I told you this before. I told you this before. You are not me, so you can't do